Good morning and welcome back to another episode of Business Beyond the Beach in partnership with our friends here at Miami Community Newspapers. My name is Brittnie Bassant, President and CEO of the Miami Beach Chamber of Commerce. And today I have with me Mr. Stephen Anthony. He is the newish Economic Development Director for the city of Miami Beach. Stephen, it is a pleasure to have you on the show.
Brittnie, it is a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's just dive right into it. I'm happy to have you on the show, but you are also a member of our board of governors, which is really exciting for me. So not only is it great to have you here on the show, but it's also great to continue and deepen and strengthen the relationship that the chamber has with the city of Miami Beach. So talk to me a little bit about what that means for you to be a member of the board of governors for the chamber and to partner with our organization as we advance economic development in the city.
Yeah, no, it's an awesome opportunity. Honestly, I think there needs to be more opportunities to partner with the chamber and the city. I think there's a unique opportunity to continue to deepen that relationship. I'm glad to be able to serve. That's always first and foremost. And then just the opportunity to connect, right? You connect with businesses, you connect with the folks that actually are the movers and shakers in the city of Miami Beach that give real feedback, because that's the first thing that I think first and foremost. I came here 6 months ago. My biggest thing was I need to listen. So how do I listen to the folks that are actually doing the work here and have been doing the work? And so being able to be on the chamber board helps me get that feedback. So it's been good.
That's amazing. Okay, so you said it, 6 months into the role, on the job, new to the city of Miami Beach. Walk me through a little bit of your background. Where were you before you moved to our beautiful city? And talk to me about what your first 6 months have been like.
For sure. So I'm originally from Kansas City, and I grew up, born and raised there. Spent time in New Orleans, where I went to undergrad. Spent a lot of time in Washington, D.C. I'm a former banker by trade, did that for a very long time. And then, I moved back to Kansas City for a period of time where I led economic development for the Kansas City EDC there. And then the opportunity came here, right? There wasn't a huge selling point. It's funny, the time that I was going through the process here, it was storm winter in Kansas City at the time. And so I remember distinctly flying out of a storm in Kansas City, flying here, and it's 75-degree weather.
Sunny Miami Beach. Sunny. Was it a beautiful, sunny, glorious Miami Chamber of Commerce Miami Beach day?
It was all of that. It was all of that and then some. And it's funny because I'm thinking, like, there's not really a huge selling point here. Just tell me that I got it and I'm there. But it was a unique opportunity for me to lift up the work that I already had been doing over the last several years. Economic development is super important because it is a real tangible way to affect people's lives on an everyday basis. And so that is that is really one of the biggest things that's important for me. And so just doing the work over the last several years and then being able to elevate that in a place like Miami Beach, right? Why not being able to be able to be connected to the folks that are here doing that kind of work on a bigger platform. And so I appreciate the work I was able to do in Kansas City. It was really impactful. And now how do you take that up a notch? And that's what led me here.
That's absolutely amazing. I think just having you say economic development is a really tangible way to affect someone's life on a daily basis.
Sure.
That's just probably one of the best sound bites I've gotten on this show, because it's so true for the work that you do, that the chamber does, that we do every single day, and how do we move that forward. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for doing that. Okay, so your background's really diverse. Like, you are a banker by trade. You've been in finance. You've been in real estate a little bit, I understand. You've been in economic development. So talk about how all of those experiences and all of these different industries and sectors have prepared you to lead Miami Beach in economic development.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, like, my background within all those spaces all really fed into economic development work, right? I always tell people I fell into economic development by accident. It was no intention. Nobody says, hey, I'm going to school for economic development. Nobody ever says that, except maybe two people in my entire life. And so, when you fall into this work, it's an opportunity to see just how impactful you can be. I remember sharing with someone that when I was in undergrad, my last semester was when Hurricane Katrina hit and struck New Orleans. And so going back and after taking a year out of school and being able to go back and finish, I got a chance to see what economic development actually can do for communities, both on the good and bad side, right? When you're intentional about the work, when you're intentional about really making sure that there are opportunities given, where businesses can thrive, where people have homes and all of those things, and where you can make sure that folks have the quality of life that they can thrive in, that led me unintentionally, it led me into economic development work. And so being able to pull together my financial background, my real estate background, I can analyze deals with the best of them. Everything I do, I look through from a financial lens. But that part of it was the part that really made my heart I had a heart for economic development once I experienced that. And so I didn't know then, 20 years ago, I'm telling my age now, but I didn't know 20 years ago that was what was going to affect, my passion and my work in this space.
That is so incredibly powerful. I think our city is so fortunate to have someone with that sort of vision and strategy and approach leading, because I think Miami Beach is a very unique city when it comes to economic development. We are a tourism and hospitality capital of the world. We are a gateway to other parts of the world, the Caribbean, South America. I mean, Miami Beach is a globally recognized destination. Yeah. And so, but how do you balance sort of that tourism and hospitality sector with also like new and emerging businesses in the city, more traditional businesses? And so talk to me a little about the challenges that you face there in sort of finding that balance.
Yeah, I always say that tourism and hospitality is going to be the core, right? I mean, we have a resort tax that pays a lot of our bills. And so at the end of the day, that's always going to be the core of what we do here. And it should be, right? The advantage that Miami Beach has compared to a lot of other places is the beach, right? And so, we're going to continue to lean on that, have that be the core. I think there is a unique opportunity, though, as we move forward to figure out how do we institute new innovative technologies into that type of work, i.e. AI, for example, thinking about the ways that you incorporate tech into tourism and hospitality. I call it tourism tech, right? How do we make sure that people's experiences are even better than what they have been? How do we make it easy for people to experience a city like Miami Beach, which is unique? And so having all of those aspects is going to be core. So tourism and hospitality is not going anywhere. That's going to be core. At the same time, you want to make sure you diversify. You got to diversify industry. You also have to diversify your tax base. You got to diversify people, right? We have, a little bit over 80,000 residents in Miami Beach, which most people don't realize that Miami Beach is still a small town.
It's a small town. We don't have that many. So we have, yes, like you said, about over 80,000 residents, but on any given day, how many people are on the island? Do you know?
It's like 500,000.
Yeah, 300,000 to 400,000
on
on average day. And then during our peak times, we'd have to talk to our MBPD for that one, but 300,000 to 400,000 individuals. So it really is sort of like that balance.
So how do you serve all of those people?
Exactly.
Right. How do you manage all of that? Working with the chamber is going to be one of them. But that's how do you manage all of those different stakeholders, right? And making sure that we have everything that can feed into those folks. But I also look at tourism as an opportunity, not just to showcase your city to people on an individual basis, or they come here, check it out, leave and go back. It's also a unique opportunity for folks to look at it and say, wow, when I'm here, this could actually be a place for me to live, right? Like I can see myself living here. I can see myself working here. I can see myself doing all the different things on an everyday basis. So that's how you increase your tax base, right? And so you also have an opportunity to eliminate the economic ups and downs when you have a steady, tax base there. And so those are all the different ways, that I think of, and I always, kind of have to figure out how to incorporate strategies that are going to fit needs to really diversify both the tax base and diversify the business base here, in Miami Beach.
So we talked a lot about our tourism and hospitality sectors, and of course we have, development and construction. We've got real estate. We've got so many.
Yeah.
But for small business or like your local entrepreneurs that are looking to establish themselves in the city of Miami Beach as well, you're talking about diversifying. Yeah. What are some of the opportunities that they have available to them? What are some of the resources in your department specifically that are catering to small businesses?
For sure. So there's ways that we continue. So I always tell people, go to mbbiz.com. I'm gonna do a little shout Shout out for mbbiz.com. But no matter what your industry is, of course, tourism, hospitality, if you're in the financial services sector in some form or fashion, if you're in culture and arts, if you're in those spaces, we're always going to continue to make sure that we support businesses in those spaces. But come to us first. I think a lot of folks don't realize that we also have a business concierge service.
Let's talk about your business concierge service.
All right.
Your business, you recently held an event with that.
We did.
And you have a robust business concierge service. So let's chat a little bit about that.
We did. And so we had the recent business licensing and concierge day supported by the chamber. So we appreciate all of our partners, and being able to support, because what we want is a one-stop shop. A lot of folks say, hey, it's tough to do business. It's tough to set up a business. It's tough to get things through the process. And I tell people that that's probably going to be the case no matter where you go. But the biggest part is transparency and communication, right?
Because I think it's tough, it's difficult, but it's also just really confusing.
It can be.
And a lot of the times you don't have that person or that opportunity, that office, that one-stop shop that can say, okay, we're going to walk you through. These are all of the things that you need to do.
Absolutely.
I'm stealing your thunder right now. Sorry.
Yeah, no, hey,
go ahead,
for
Stephen.
it.
Talk about your business.
You can tell it better than I can. No, you go for it.
By all means. But truly, it is this one-stop shop where you get access to all of the different departments that you need, and it's facilitated by your team. So please talk more about it.
No, that's you got it. So no, anything else that you need. But no, I think that's it. I mean, we always wanted to make sure, and for me specifically, I didn't feel like that got enough of the push that it should have gotten. And so there's really been an intentionality about making sure that we went from where we were doing it every so often to now we're doing it quarterly. And that's just because of the resources that we have available to us. But I think it's an opportunity for folks to say, we know economic development can assist us. We know we have a one-stop shop. We know that we don't have to go to talk to planning and building and all the various departments. We can literally go to one and then let that department go ahead and handle a lot of the responsibilities there. That's our biggest piece. And so I think there's been a lot more folks that are understanding, what we have and what's available to us. We're going to continue to do it. I'm looking forward to our next quarterly event that we're working on planning right now, which we know the chamber is going to continue to support us. I'm throwing it out there already.
Absolutely. There's no question that when it comes to economic development and working hand in hand with your department, you're there.
For sure. But that is certainly one of the top resources. And then we have, there's a number of different programs, which I always advise people to go check out. mbbiz.com. You'll see our job creation incentive program. You'll see our facade program. I mean, there's a number of different programs and resources that we have available to folks. But biggest thing for me, how do we make it easier? Right? Anybody can throw a little bit of extra money every now and then. We just gave out $100,000 in grants.
I was just about to ask about your small business. You took
I'm stealing your thunder now.
You read my mind, because I'm like, okay, we're going to talk about these small business grants, because you gave out 100,000, 20 different businesses received $5,000 grants. So talk about, I'm not going to say what it was for. I know, but you talk about it. Talk about what these businesses could use these grants for, how they qualify, the whole process, because I think it's amazing that you're going to talk about it. No, you're going to say what it was for.
Hey, you're ready to go. So I think it's, but
I'm one of those people that gets really excited about economic development, by the way, FYI, but you go, Stephen.
Which I love, I love that, because nobody says that. So it is, but it's a really good opportunity to really help businesses figure out ways. How do you increase your marketing? How do you find better ways to increase efficiencies with your operations? How do you use that for equipment and things that you may need for your business? So those are a couple of the different things that folks can utilize the funds for, because businesses told us directly, like, these are some of the things that we have challenges for, especially during our slower months. Mm-hmm. So how do we get access to resources that can help us during that time? And it's that's a really good opportunity for us. And so we're proud to support. Our city commission is proud to support small businesses in that way. So we're excited to be able to deliver that, and hopefully we'll see how the future holds for us to be able to do more.
Yes, and what I love, one of the biggest things that I loved about this program, when I actually first had conversations with some of our commissioners, it aimed to cut a lot of the red tape from some of the, government grants and that sort of process. And how do we just get the money to the businesses that need it and allow them the flexibility to be able to use it for the things that they actually need?
For sure.
And that's what's so great about it.
Yeah.
So continue doing that.
Yeah.
Let us know how we can support.
Always.
Okay. So we should have probably talked about this at the very beginning because we're sitting here talking about all things economic development, but you have an amazing view on economic development. You have your 5 pillars.
Yeah.
So I know them, but for everyone else, let's talk about those 5 pillars, Stephen.
I developed this over the last several years of being in this space. And what I realized is that economic development, no matter where you're doing it, and I did economic development work in DC, I did a course in Kansas City and now here. So it's always going to focus on 5 things. Business development, how do you attract high-paying jobs to your residents and making sure that they have wages that are able to be sustainable, that they can have a decent quality of life. So business development is one. And these are in no particular order. Real estate development, right? People have to have a place where they can live, they can work, they can play, they can do all of those different things. So how do we support development in a way that is going to be conducive for the community in which it's located? And so that's another major component of that. Entrepreneurship, right? So now we're moving from just the high-paying jobs, but entrepreneurship. How do we support entrepreneurs? How do we support the folks that actually, in reality, according to statistics, 70% of your jobs are created by small businesses, right? And entrepreneurs. So when those are the biggest folks that provide jobs for your community, how do you continue to support them, i.e. like the small business grants that we just mentioned? And so entrepreneurship is a really, really big pillar there. One of the things that I term is human capital. So now how do we look at ways to support not only workforce and talent development, but also retention? How do we make sure that folks come into the area that fill the jobs that we're trying to attract, but also making sure that people don't leave and say, you know what, there isn't jobs for me in that area, and so I'm going to leave and go to some other place. And so how do you do all of those things? And I call that human capital and the focus around that. And then last but certainly not least is certainly tourism. And the tourism, for exactly the ways in which I mentioned, is bigger than just simply how do I showcase the city to short-term folks that are just going to visit, but how do I also, make this a place where people can live and they can thrive and they can decide, hey, I want to move to that area. And so those are all the biggest pieces. The weighting is different depending on what community that you're a part of. So the same things that were weighted heavily in DC is not going to be the same things in Kansas City, and it's definitely not going to be the same things here in Miami Beach. And so how do you make sure that those things, the weight is what the community is looking for and what the community needs? So those are the things that, no matter where you go, those 5 pillars are always going to be first and foremost.
Absolutely. I think I see a book in your future, Stephen.
Wow.
The 5 pillars of economic development. You can expand on that. And
coming to an Amazon.
And then sell it to the 3 people in the world that are excited about economic development.
True. Very true.
Okay, so we have to wrap up. I have a few more questions for you. Okay. If you were to look ahead to the future, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, I don't know what your future looks like, but as a successful term as the economic development director for the city of Miami Beach, what would you have liked to accomplish? And then what would you do now to sort of set that process in motion?
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's deep. Great question, Brittnie.
Our city commissioners told me that. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Right, I'm absolutely kidding. This is 100% me, so I know how we can support you as your partners at the chamber.
I think when I look on it and say, what do I want my legacy to be, in the future? I think the biggest part of it is going to be really twofold. It's the revitalization and reinvigoration of our commercial corridors. And so the Lincoln Road, the Washington Avenue, the Ocean Drive, the 41st Street, all of our major commercial thoroughfares, how do we reinvigorate and revitalize those areas, right? How do we get them to a point where folks are like, wow, I cannot wait to go over to Miami Beach and spend time in these areas, right? Like that would set that legacy 5 to 10 years and seeing those places thrive. That would be one of the biggest things for me. And then the other part is the continually building of North Beach. Underappreciated, I feel like, in a lot of ways. But spending time there more recently, and being able to take a look at certain restaurants like Sushi Bishi and just walking the neighborhood, and spending some time around there. You see the opportunities, the band shell, like you just see, and there was music playing at the band shell, just walking through there. You see the opportunities, how limitless they can be. for that community, and it just feels good. And so making sure that development is also very intentional with as it continues to be built out. But North Beach is one of those areas that I feel like has extreme potential. And so the revitalization of the corridors, and of course to see North Beach continue to thrive, those two things would be set for my legacy.
I absolutely love that you mentioned so many different neighborhoods in Miami Beach. A lot of people think Miami Beach and they think South Beach, and we love South Beach. But you mentioned 41st Street, which is very squarely in Mid Beach, and then of course focus on North Beach, because it's all three of those very unique and diverse neighborhoods that make Miami Beach the amazing, beautiful city that it is. And so I'm looking forward to working with you on those projects and those initiatives. So you are the Economic Development Director for the City of Miami Beach, which means that you are plugged into all things Miami Beach. So I want to know, and I know you've only been here for 6 months, but I want to know, like, what's your spot? Like, what are your spots in the city? Or I think everyone else wants to know, what are your spots in the city? Like, where are your go-tos? What are some of your favorites? What are some of those, like, hidden gems that are not so hidden? Tell me about, like, where does the Economic Development Director of the city go to in the city?
It's so I'm a big fan of live music.
Okay.
So I love live music. I love jazz. And there are a couple of places that are certainly big in that regard. Excuse me. Certainly a couple of places like that. Medium Cool is one of my favorites. I do enjoy Medium Cool there. Their live jazz during certain times. It turns into a little bit different after you get later into the night. But Medium Cool is certainly one of the favorite places to visit. The Water at the One Hotel, the Water Restaurant at One Hotel, their rooftop, they actually do some live music there too on the weekends. So that's also a really good spot. The rooftop of the Esme Hotel is another. So I find just a couple of places, where I can catch live music, and have an adult beverage. And then just enjoy the time. And so that's usually where folks may or may not find me, throughout the weekend.
If you're looking to talk economic development, you've got a couple of places to hit up to chat with our economic development director.
For sure.
Alrighty. Well, we definitely have to wrap it up. So my last question to you, so if you can go back in time and give a piece of advice to your younger self, what would you tell him?
Man, be fearless. Be fearless. I think, one of the things that a younger version of me was conscious of what others felt about the decisions that I made. But you realize that at the end of the day, as long as you're doing what you feel is best in your heart, then it really doesn't matter. And so just continue to be fearless and be focused on what you feel is best. And then everything else will certainly work itself out. And so I'm a firm believer in all of that.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Stephen. As you said, be fearless, be focused, and everything will work itself out. And that has been another amazing episode of Business Beyond the Beach in partnership with our friends here at Miami Community Newspapers. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next week for another episode.